An Appetite for Revolution. I'm Jason Horton.
I'm Rebecca Lieb.
And this is Ghost Town.
We cover lots of disturbing subject matter on the podcast, but disclaimer for this week, this might be one of the more bizarre episodes and not for the faint of heart. Today we're taking you back to the 18th century to talk about a medical oddity who lived many lives in his short 26 years on Earth and whose insatiable appetite lent him a place in history books. Garbage, snakes, live cats, military feasts, and even children. Today we're talking about Tarrare, the French performer, murderer, revolutionary, and spy with a never-ending appetite that continues to fascinate and disturb historians to this day. Born in 1772 in Lyon, France, Tarrare, whose full given name was lost to history, story begins modestly. He was born to lower-class parents who didn't quite know what they were in for. At a young age, Tarrare's parents realized their son was different from other kids. He could eat. A lot. In fact, he was always hungry, his insatiable appetite reflected in his habits and his appearance. As a child, he would eat his own body weight in beef. By the time he was 10, Tarrare was gobbling up a quarter of a cow a day. By the time he turned 17, he could eat even more, though, ironically, at only 100 pounds, was putridly sweaty with thin lips, stained teeth, soft hair, that sounds pretty good, bloodshot eyes, and a large gaping mouth that many historians reference specifically. Some say Tarrare's stomach, when empty, could wrap around his waist like a belt. But his stomach was never empty for long. Unable to feed him and probably not exactly thrilled by his horrifying appearance and hygiene, Tarrare's family eventually ran him into the streets, where he could find his own food and his own way. Now, it's unclear whether Tarrare was this person's real name or a nickname, but we do have a small clue. Bonbon Tarrare was a popular French expression at the time used to describe powerful explosions, and historians speculate that it may have been applied to Tarrare because of his presence, or maybe his insane flatulence. Of course, not pleasant either way, but compelling? Sure. Out on his own, young Tarrare quickly fell in with some questionable circles. He spent a while touring with an actual snake oil salesman as one of his sideshows. But soon he left his place of employment to go freelance. At that point, Tarrare would hang with common criminals, performing on the streets, showing off his, quote, unusual talent, eating. He would eat inanimate items like stones and corks, entire bags of apples, and even live animals. Soon he gained quite a following, both in a curious audience and in criminal friends who liked to hang around and take advantage. Pickpocketing Tarrare's entranced and revulsed audience was probably a pretty easy task. More descriptions of Tarrare popped up during this time. People described the skin of Tarrare's cheeks as wrinkled and hanging loosely. When stretched out, he could hold 12 eggs or apples in his mouth. His body was hot to the touch and he sweated heavily and, unsurprisingly, constantly suffered from body odor, described as stinking, quote, to such a degree that he could not be endured within the distance of 20 paces. After one of his shows, Tarrare suffered an acute intestinal obstruction and had to be carried to the Hotel Dieu hospital. After being treated by the surgeon there with a, quote, ton of laxatives, Tarrare offered to show off his eating talents to the doctor by swallowing the man's watch and chain. The surgeon was not amused and replied that he would cut Tarrare open with his sword to recover his accessory if the performer dared even try. During all of this eating and pickpocketing and doctoring, France was changing. In 1789, the French Revolution began, and Tarrare, ever the disgusting patriot, wanted to do his part. So he enlisted in the French Revolutionary Army. During his military service, it wasn't the abject violence, trauma, or death that got to him. No, it was the small food rations assigned to the soldiers. Tarrare would do favors and odd jobs for the other soldiers in exchange for their rations, scavenged for scraps, and even started eating garbage. Recognizing his, quote, special needs, Tarrare was actually assigned quadruple rations. Still, that wasn't enough. He would even eat medicines and salves from the Army's medical supply areas. But it, again, still did not sate Tarrare. He needed more, and his body reflected that, showing off a type of malnourishment. Tarrare was eventually transferred to a hospital in Soultz, France, with a diagnosis of extreme exhaustion. This move was merciful not only for Tarrare, but also for the benefit of his fellow soldiers, who were probably pretty sick of being around a guy 24/7 who had putrid sweats and ate medical supplies and trash. Now in the hands of surgeon Dr. Corville and Dr. Pierre-Francois Percy, the entire medical team at Soultz Hospital was fascinated with Tarrare's, quote, condition, and had convinced themselves that there was great scientific research to be learned from it. So he became the hospital's hungry little guinea pig. First, the doctors let him loose on a meal portioned for 15 hungry laborers, 2 large meat pies, 4 gallons of milk, and plates of grease and salt for dessert. Tarrare, of course, ate the entire spread and then immediately fell asleep. This piqued the doctor's curiosity, so they took the only natural step. They gave Tarrare a live cat. Without going into detail, I will say this: Tarrare did eat the cat. Following this, hospital staff ordered Tarrare a variety of other animals, including snakes, lizards, and puppies, all of which were eaten. He also swallowed an entire eel without chewing, having first crushed its head with his teeth. I know, I'm so sorry to be saying all of this. Please, someone give PETA a time machine to go back to revolutionary France immediately. Tarrare embraced and enjoyed his new status as a medical oddity. In fact, it got back to the astonished doctors that his favorite animal snack was snake. And the doctors, again, shaken, fascinated, and unsure how to handle their new patient, took meticulous records of their work with him, which is why we can even research this episode today. That being said, after seeing some of the horrible things this man could eat, Dr. Corville's wheels started turning. He immediately turned his attention on how to use Tarrare's talent and decided that his patient would make an incredible weapon of war. More after this break.
Hi, hello, how are you?
Hello.
How are you doing?
How's it going out there?
We are checking in.
This is the check-in.
We want to say hello to anyone who's listening, supporting us, spreading the good word of Ghost Town. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh boy. I got to get at that government. I can't wait.
You got to do it.
Give me some of that government.
Yummy, yummy government.
We love big oil. We love big government. Anything big. Anything to keep the shareholders happy.
We'll do it.
We'll do it.
Conscience? What's that?
I don't know. Mayors? They have an interesting palate themselves, I found out doing my research.
You did some research, did you?
Some of it is a bit controversial. Some of it is, sounds good. Well, this first mayor would go to Panda Express and not even look at the orange chicken. It's like, come on, baby. You know you want that orange chicken.
Yeah, that's all you want.
That's the thing.
I can't even name another thing.
Don't dance around the orange chicken.
You want to try something new, but you don't.
Yeah.
You don't.
Get real. Get with the orange chicken. It's Marissa Rothermel.
Hello.
This mayor is like, I don't know, how does Subway sound? That's your opening offering? Is how does Subway sound? I have nothing against Subway. Do I like it? No. Will I eat it? Sure. It's fine. But there's got to be one other option out there.
Yeah, there is.
What are we doing
If
here?
you have a Subway around you, you have something else around you.
You have something else.
It's just how it is.
Cookies are good, though. I do like that.
Oh, now they're doing this footlong thing where everything is by length, where it's like footlong pretzel, footlong sub, footlong cookie. It's deranged.
Well, now you're getting me into it.
That's real. Check it out.
Now that we're throwing a little support to Chris Hernandez.
Hello.
This mayor is asked, who's down for some fast food? And this mayor boldly says, I don't know, how about Burger King? And I'm like, yeah, how about Burger King? I feel like Burger King gets left in the dust and it's a classic.
Wow.
Are you a Burger King head or no?
Not really, I would say.
Would you eat it?
I would absolutely eat it. Of course. Of course. I mean, I would eat anything, okay? I just want to make that clear. I'm not like, ooh, Burger King fries, though.
And you could say, yeah, if there's a Burger King, there's something else. But sometimes, like, why don't we just get back to the basics? Back to when we were a proper country.
That's right. Little crowns.
The last time I remember being at a Burger King, I was with someone. We were going out to San Diego to do an improv show. And his car broke down in the Burger King drive-thru.
Wow.
Those are some glory LA days.
Beautiful,
for you, you know what I mean?
beautiful, yeah.
Right there in LA, right on Western and Melrose-ish, a little bit
Oh,
up.
yeah.
There was also a shooting there too at separate occasions. Anyway, that's Matthew Clemens Leray.
Hello.
This mayor thinks they're not being controversial, but I think they are when they're like, I don't know, how about some Chipotle? And it's fine. It's good.
Yeah.
But is it worth it anymore?
No.
Does it have the same, you know what I mean? Like, even the stock doesn't do well anymore.
No. I mean, it's just like gut rot city over there. I'm sorry. I know it probably won't kill me.
Yeah.
And I know if you're counting your macros, like, you can get a lot of chicken, whatever. I'm sure it's fine. But there's lots of other options. Same thing with Subway. If you can find a Chipotle, you can find something else.
Tell that to Casey Weber.
Hello.
This mayor, their intentions are good, but they don't realize the fallout. When they're like, you know what I got a hankering for? How about some In-N-Out? In-N-Out's fine. In-N-Out's great.
In-N-Out's fine. It's
you really want to get
fine.
on that that drive-through line? You really want to suffer through that?
Yeah. For like a fine, listen, for fast food, sure.
It's a great price point.
Sure. Yeah, get it. But it's not it's not to be put on a pedestal,
Yes.
I will say.
Well, why don't you tell that to Kat Joselle?
Hello.
Now, this mayor, it's a little less controversial, but it's like for people with those big wallets. They're like, how about some fast food? What about some Five Guys? And it's like, why is it $15 for one of their hamburgers? That's a bad price point.
Yeah, that's not good.
Five Guys is fine. Five Guys is good.
Again,
But
you will feel nauseated and want to sleep after eating one.
Sure.
For sure.
But this person has deep pockets, I guess, when they're suggesting it. It's Kelly Meehan.
Hello.
This mayor, a little bit controversial. They're like, let's try that new hot chicken place. And you're like, which one?
Yeah.
They're all hot chicken places, at least in LA. I feel like
they really are. And you wait a long time, and there's like 12 different like spheres of heat, and you're like, I don't know what's what.
Yeah.
I want it to be hot, but I don't want it to like burn my tongue out of my mouth.
But you don't want to seem like a wimp either.
Yeah. And you don't want like no heat, because like, why are you even going there?
Yeah.
You know?
So this person just throws a new hot chicken place at us. Pick one of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's Ashley Matson.
Hello.
And then our governor is like, I don't care which one you pick, because I got my hands in all of them. The Coca-Cola industry, Pepsi.
She's like, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I own them all.
Will I eat any of this crap?
Absolutely not. It disgusts me. But my private chef will make me a burger. Thank you very much.
It'll make me something. What do the poors eat? Make me a Five Guys, but gourmet version.
Yeah. What's rustic? Yeah. My bespoke burger experience.
And then meanwhile, they just dump. And they're all in wrappers, but then they're just dumped over some flyovers. Just dumped the rats crawling around for their fast food. That is our esteemed governor, Avian Noble. If you want no ads, no chit-chat bonus episodes, 7 days free, head on over to patreon.com/ghosttownpod. Helps us out. Helps you out if you don't want to hear any ads or any of this junk.
Yeah, pretty cool.
as we stumble over another one of these.
Let's get back to France, where, after being a street performer, sideshow, and medical experiment, Tarrare's primary caretakers, two surgeons named Dr. Courville and Dr. Pierre-Francois Percy, took Tarrare to a French war room, surrounded by esteemed generals. You see, Percy and Courville had an idea. In the room, a document was placed inside a wooden box, which was in turn fed to Tarrare. 2 days later, the box was retrieved from Tarrare's excrement, with the document still in legible condition. Courville had proposed to French officials that Tarrare could thus serve as a top-secret military courier, carrying documents secretly through the enemy territory with no risk of them being found if he was searched. Back in the war room, Tarrare was told, "Congratulations, you have succeeded." His reward? a wheelbarrow filled with 30 pounds of raw bull's lungs and liver, which he immediately ate in front of the assembled generals. That is how Tarrare became an official spy of the Army of Rhine, a spy who could eat anything and produce whatever he ate, eventually. Tarrare's practical abilities were proven, but there was one issue. He was, by all accounts, a disgusting human being. Besides his smell, sweat, and general lack of hygiene, he had a short temper, a bad personality, and wasn't considered intelligent by any account we have from that time. But none of that mattered too much, because now Tarrare was France's newest and best spy. Soon he was assigned his first mission, to swallow a message to the French colonel imprisoned by the Prussians near Neustadt. He was told that the documents were of great military significance, but in reality it was more of a test, and Tarrare had merely swallowed a note asking the colonel to confirm that the message had been received successfully, and if so, to return a reply of any potentially useful information about Prussian troop movements. Tarrare crossed Prussian lines under the cover of darkness, disguised as a German peasant. Unable to speak a word of German, he near immediately attracted the attention of local residents and was arrested. A strip search found nothing suspicious on him, and despite being whipped by Prussian soldiers, he refused to betray his mission. But after 24 hours of captivity and, you guessed it, not enough food, Tarrare relented and spilled the whole scheme to his captors. He was chained to a latrine, and eventually, 30 hours after being swallowed, the wooden box emerged. The Germans were furious when the documents, which Tarrare said contained vital intelligence, was actually only a dummy message, and Tarrare was taken to a gallows and the noose placed around his neck. At the very last minute, the German generals changed their minds, took Tarrare down from the scaffold, gave him a severe beating, and released him near the French lines. After this expedition, Tarrare returned to the doctors, tail between his legs. He begged for them to find a cure for his unique disorder, because after this humiliation, he just wanted his never-ending hunger to stop. Finally, the doctors decided, instead of testing what this guy could eat, let's see if we can actually treat him. Novel, right? They tried opium, wine vinegar, and tobacco pills with no luck. Next, Percy decided to feed Tarrare a ridiculous number of soft-boiled eggs to fully gauge his appetite. This also failed, as Tarrare ate all the eggs prepared and was still hungry. Any attempted diet only made Tarrare more miserable, and he often went to the French streets to eat trash and scraps from the butcher to try and quench his hunger. More disgustingly, Tarrare was found drinking human blood collected from patients during bloodletting sessions, and later, he was found in the hospital's morgue, eating from the dead corpses. Many doctors of the time believed Tarrare simply had a mental disorder and should be admitted to an asylum. But Percy and Corville would be done sticking up for Tarrare when a 14-month-old child went missing from the nursery. It was never proven that Tarrare ate the live child, but the doctors could no longer defend Tarrare from all of these accusations, and he was chased away from the hospital for good. For the next 4 years, Tarrare's whereabouts are unclear, but in 1798 he showed up at a hospital in Versailles, so ill he could barely walk. Believed to be at death's door, Tarrare called for Dr. Percy, confiding in the doctor that he'd eaten a golden fork 2 years before, and it had never expelled itself. He was convinced that this was the cause of his current state. Percy, on the other hand, an actual doctor, if not an effective one, recognized the late stages of tuberculosis taking hold. A month after calling on Percy, Tarrare died at the age of 26. As in life, the doctors found the deceased Tarrare just as disgusting and fascinating as ever. A new team of doctors attempted an autopsy, searching for insight on Tarrare's condition. The autopsy stated, quote, "The corpse rotted quickly. The surgeons of the hospital refused to dissect it. Tessier, the physician, however, wanted to find out how Tarrare differed from the norm internally. At the autopsy, Tarrare's gullet was found to be abnormally wide when his jaw was opened. Surgeons could see down a broad canal into the stomach. His body was found to be filled with pus. His liver and gallbladder were abnormally large, and his stomach was enormous, covered in ulcers and filling most of his abdominal cavity. The golden fork? Well, it was never found." Needless to say, Tarrare was an incredible medical oddity often overlooked by French history. To this day, it's unclear what was exactly going on with him, or the source of his uncontrollable hunger. It's theorized that he had an extreme form of hyperthyroidism, drastically raising his body's metabolism, which would make those affected eat more without losing weight, as well as showing symptoms of puffy eyes, sweating, and bad body odor. Of course, people on Reddit are also still theorizing what Tarrare's actual ailment was. Says Steel Triceps, quote, I would guess that the reason his, quote, condition doesn't have any other cases is that it is a strange amalgamation of disorders and problems that combine to give him some pretty freakish abilities rather than one cohesive syndrome. Another user said, he probably had Prader-Willi syndrome. I know someone whose son had it. He would eat everything. They even caught him eating his neighbor's garbage. Eventually, she had to give him up to the government because she couldn't care for him anymore. He has to be supervised 24/7. And yet others think that history has not lent the tragic story of Tarrare much dignity. Says Free Range Disco Ball, quote, the most likely explanation is that a lot of this is embellished for the sake of the infamy. Did he eat a cat whole? Probably not. Did he eat a 14-month baby? Probably not. As someone who has looked into a lot of peer-reviewed and published science from 100+ years ago, a lot of stuff is just incorrectly reported, most likely on purpose. People used to believe a lot of ridiculous things. This is most likely one of those things.